guilty of this. I saw another story this weekend, and maybe it's a worse example of this, and I believe the entire media is in on this one. A video has surfaced from Pakistan in which a so-called American spy was beheaded by a boy who he's got to be 12. The video is grotesque, it is gruesome, shocking, it is violent. But it's important that you see it. Since 9/11, we have become accustomed to learning about how savage our enemies are by reading reports in the paper or seeing a video of a suicide bombing hours after it happens. Day after day, we hear or we read about beheadings and stonings and just barbaric acts, but we never see them. We're not even allowed to see our own World Trade Center collapse anymore. I could describe to you how this 12-year-old boy hacked away at the man's neck over and over and over again as the crowd all around him of adults chanted Allah Akbar, or how he raised the man's severed head in triumph once he hacked it off. But until you actually see it, you have no concept of what we're really up against. Unfortunately, the real story is you will never see this video. It will never air in the United States. Why? Well, let me tell you this. The pictures you see are all I'm allowed to show you, okay? These pictures here, that's it. The media, including this very network, says that showing the video, you ready, will just incentivize people to create more beheadings. If that is true, may I ask this network, may I ask all centers of the media to explain to me why we would air the Virginia Tech shooter's rambling manifesto just days after he massacred 32 people. We label that as news to make ourselves feel better about the ratings it'll bring in, when the fact is, it is completely gratuitous and irrelevant to the story. The event had already happened, the threat was over, and the murderer was dead. Newsflash, America, these Muslim extremists are alive and well. They are not dead, and their video is not gratuitous, and it certainly is not irrelevant. It is a warning. All of us, Christians, Jews, Muslims, we have to see these things with our own eyes, remind ourselves who we're up against, how far they're willing to go. Of course, we can continue to ignore it. You know, we can just ignore, like the Russian media calling us an enemy. We could ignore the news that Iran is getting cozy with Al-Qaeda and Russia and helping terrorists in Iraq and smuggling arms to the Taliban in Afghanistan. Of course, ignoring it doesn't really make it go away, because unlike us, our enemies aren't afraid to be crystal clear about their intentions. The only problem is that we would continue to refuse to listen. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, he is from the American Islamic Forum on Democracy and a new contributor to the program. Zuhdi, did you happen to see this video?
No, I heard about it and read about it, but I did not see it.
First of all, let me start here. What message are they trying to send to the Muslim world and to the Western world?
Well, I think now, you know, we knew about Nick Berg and Daniel Pearl and Paul Johnson, and now they've gone to even a lower evil of medieval barbaric behavior to use children who are actually the most fertile soil for this brainwashing of theocracy. And the issue is that this is a wake-up call. And you know, Glenn, I agree with you about the fact that this is something that we need to inform the American public that this is what's going on. And my faith, I mean, to see a child use a phrase that I use over 50 times a day, where I say Allahu Akbar when I pray, it's something about the spiritual, loving God of Abraham. And to see it done this way is just an abomination. And it should be a wake-up call to Muslims that there is something awry in the Muslim culture in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and elsewhere that's tribal, and I like to call it pre-Islamic culture that has become completely corrupt. You know, and if we're going to get that back and rescue it, they're going to have to wake up to the evil.
Zuhdi, I can't believe that you just said pre-Islamic culture. I'm reading a book. I don't even know when this came out. A friend of mine said, you've got to read this. It's called Muhammad, a Prophet of Our Time, and it's by Karen Armstrong. I'm only about halfway through, and I wanted to actually ask you offline about it. because the world that Muhammad grew up in seems an awful lot like the world that these barbarians are living in today. It's almost like he had such a message of peace, and it looks like it has been hijacked by the same barbarians before he arrived, and it's just been used for political purposes to create what they already had before he came. Am I wrong?
And you're exactly right, and that's what's so vital, Glenn, is that we're missing the boat if we don't allow Muslims to finally wake up and try to figure out and revisit what the true peaceful message of Muhammad was, and that he came to correct a society that was tribal, medieval, that was vicious, and that also was very receptive to a new rebirth of a Jewish and Christian type of morality and courage. And that's what this is, should be a wake-up call to us, to try to bring back the spiritual component of my faith that is being hijacked by these radical networks.
The reason why I felt so strongly that this video should be seen on television, and it'll never be seen in America, you will never see it. A friend of mine came to me in church yesterday and brought me a bunch of pictures, and I want to throw them up on the screen here. This is from a rally, an extremist rally in London. And it's, you know, people should be slain who defame Muhammad, etc., etc. And she said to me, "Are these real? Is this real or is this Photoshop?" And I said, "This is real." She said, "How come I never have seen these? This is in London. This is a place, here we are on day when Al-Qaeda has basically announced Hiroshima is coming to England." Does it play a role? Do you believe that the media is holding these things from us to have us disengage in some way or another?
I think there's a couple things. First of all, I think they're in denial. Part of it is a sense of trying to filter what's going on. But I'll tell you also, you have to remember, I have mixed feelings about this as a Muslim, because in some ways the ransom that these barbarians want is to get this video aired.
Yeah.
So in some way you're feeding into it. But, you know, until we wake up and realize what's going on, there may be some benefit to at least highlighting what they're actually doing.
Zudi,
and there's a fertile soil.
You are a Muslim, that I as a Christian, we see eye to eye, we both have respect for each other's religion, and that's the path that we should be taking, and name our enemies by name. They are not Islamic, they are barbarians. Doctor, thanks. Tonight's Real Story, that's it. If you'd like to read more about this, or if you found a real story of your own that you'd like to tell us about, please visit glennbeck.com.